Because P4, we're going to talk about lines in the plane. And you've done lines all along. You did them in Algebra 1. You did them in Algebra 2. Lines should be pretty familiar to you. So we're going to do P4a. A lot of times these lessons are super long, that we split them up into a couple of days. Sometimes I'll do an entire lesson in one day. But the book, they're really, the lessons are pretty heavy, so we split them up. Unable to download app. Okay. All right, P4a. Is that thing going to keep popping up? I hope not. All right, so we're going to talk about lines. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to discuss a very important part of lines, which is its rate of increase or rate of decrease, which is called slope. Yes, that's where we always start when we talk about lines. So we're going to talk about the slope of two lines. So let's go ahead and draw a line. So there's our line. Wow, look how straight that line is. That's pretty good. And on this line, let's go ahead and pick two arbitrary points. Here's the one point, and here's another point over here. And we're going to label them x1, y1, and x2, y2. Is this so much better without the delay now? You like it better? Yeah. And I can point to stuff, All right, so we have 2 points on this line. We have, actually, how many points are on this line? Yes, infinite. There's an infinite amount of points on that line. It's crazy, huh? And then there's 2 special points. This one is sort of special, and this one is sort of special. And those are our intercepts. Do you remember that? Intercepts. We have the y-intercept, which is right here. It's where our line crosses the y-axis, and this would be our x-intercept. And we love to abbreviate. We don't want to write intercept every time. Okay, but if we have 2 points on a line, we can easily find the slope of that line. So slope is equal to the change in the vertical over the change in the horizontal. And that's a fancy way to say rise over run. Yes, and you've heard that a billion times from your math teachers along the years. Rise over run is slope. And if we have 2 points like this, x1, y1, and x2, y2, then we say slope, which is abbreviated with the letter M. I'm not sure why. Never found out. I just accepted it. Sometimes that's what we do. And it's going to be the change in y. Now, I just drew a triangle. Is this geometry class? No. Do you know what that is? That's a Greek symbol. It's a capital Greek letter. Does anyone know it? Delta. Yeah. It's delta y over delta x. And that means the change in y, where we're going, and the change in x. It's really the way you learned it. y2 minus y1. Does this look familiar? Over x2 minus x1. And that's the slope formula. Now, what happens is if x2 and x1 are the same number? Yeah. And what happens when we have 0 in the denominator? It's undefined. You get a slope that's undefined. Okay? So we could have 0 up top. That's fine. That would be our slope would be 0. But if we get 0 in the denominator, then the slope is undefined. There's no slope at all. So let's do one. Here we go. Number 1. We are going to find the slope, and we're going to plot our points and sketch the graph of the line. So -1, 2, and 4, -2. And we want to find the slope and then graph them. Okay, pretty simple. All right, if you need to use a calculator, feel a little bit embarrassed, but you're going to get it right, so you're excited about that. All right, so let's take our y's, and it doesn't matter where you start, just wherever you start up top, you're going to start on the bottom. So we have -2 minus 2, and 4 minus -1. So -2 minus -2 is -4, and the bottom gives us 5. Not a nice number. I mean, it's a fraction. It's fine. A lot of times slope comes in fraction form. Oopsie. Let's get rid of that. Okay. And then they wanted us also to plot the points and draw the line that contains them. So we'll go to -1, +2. I do have graph paper. I know a lot of you guys were in Mr. Bexford's class and he required graph paper a lot. I don't require it that much, but if you want it, I have a whole bunch of them in that bin over there. All right, -1, 2, and then +4, -2. Okay, and then draw a nice, oops, I kind of missed. And then you use the big dot theorem. You make your points bigger so that your line will go through. Big dot theorem. Okay, you feel pretty confident in those? Yeah? Let's do one more. And you're like, we don't need one more. We're good. Let's do one that's a little bit different, a little more interesting. So let's say that we have 3, 7 and 3, 2. And we want to find the slope. And we just talked about this, right? When the x's are the same, what you get is you get -5 over 0. Okay? You're not allowed to have that. Even your phone knows you're not allowed to divide by 0, right? Have you ever asked her? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I have 0, yes, and 0 cookies or something, right? It's funny. All right, so the slope is undefined. If you don't like that word undefined, you could say it has no slope. You can't say it has slope of 0. That's totally different. So an undefined slope is going to be a vertical line. And this is the equation, x equals, what does x equal? What's x always equal in this problem? 3. Yeah, x equals 3. So if I were going to draw this correctly, I'd go 1, 2, 3, x equals 3, vertical line. And I like to say like it has no slope. Like you can actually write the word no with it, which helps. And if it has a horizontal line, it has 0 slope. You can write the word 0. It's kind of fun. All right, let's move on to part B. Any questions so far? No? Good. All review, right? All right, letter B, we're going to do some equations of lines. Does anyone know how many equations of lines we use? Do you remember any of the names of them? We use 3. Yes, very good. You're smart. What's your name? Jeanette. Ooh, now you're on the video too. Sweet. You can tell all your friends to watch this video where my math teacher calls me smart. Yeah, and they'll be like, no, I'm good. Yeah, so I hope people like around the world don't watch my videos. That's just weird. All right, we're going to start off. We have 3 forms, and we're going to start off with my favorite form. Yes, I have favorites. You can too. It's okay. It is the point slope form. I like point slope form a lot. We use it in calculus a lot, so that's what we're kind of trying to get you ready for. It's called pre-calculus, so even the name, I mean, we call it Honors Advanced Math, but the name of our book, we're trying to get you ready for calculus. It has some statistics in here, though, too. Point slope form looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? And if I ask you, put the equation in point slope form, and you give me a different form, I mark it wrong, even though your line is right. You didn't do what I asked you to do. Okay? So that's point slope form. And x1, y1 is a point on the line, and m is the slope, which we already talked about. All right, the other one is the one that you probably remember the most. What's that called? Slope, intercept. Yes. That's the one that everyone kind of knows or remembers. And it's y equals mx plus b, correct. Y equals mx plus b. It's a very simple equation of a line. We like to get them in that equation, especially if we're going to graph. But a lot of times we're not given the y-intercept. We're given a point more often than we're given a y-intercept. So that's why I like it second best. And the last one, which is my least favorite, is general form. Some books will call it standard form. Standard form. And in this form, you don't want any fractions or decimals. Everything has to be an integer. And so it's ax plus, do you remember it? by equals c. And those letters really don't mean anything. They're just integers. Okay, here m means slope, b means y-intercept. Here, m means slope, x1, y1 is a point, but a, b, and c are just numbers. That's why it's my least favorite. Okay, and then we kind of talked about this a minute ago, but if you have 2 special lines, if you have a vertical line or if you have a horizontal line, horizontal, vertical lines are always of the form x equals some constant, we'll call it a. X equals 5 is a vertical line. X equals pi is a vertical line. X equals negative 100 is a vertical line. Okay? And then horizontal would be y equals b. And that b is the same as the y-intercept because it's going through the y-axis at b. All right, so let's do some problems now. You ready? Did you get all that down? How many of you guys take notes on your iPad? A couple? Oh, 1, 2. And the rest of you like to do pen? Yeah, I do too. And it's so sloppy, right? Yeah, don't call my writing sloppy. That's just rude. All right, what are we on? 2? 3? Number 3. Number 3. All right, so let's say that we are given a point, -3, -4, and we are also given a slope. We're given a point and we're given a slope. We want to find the equation of this line in all 3 forms. Oh man. Don't you hate that? Like 3 problems in one. You look at your problems like, oh cool, we only have 5 problems tonight, but they have like A, B, C, D in every single one of them. That's fun. I think that's like a little way math people like to mess with you. All right, so find equations in all 3 forms. I would start with the form that works the best for my situation. Okay, I'm given a point and I'm given a slope. That sounds familiar. I think I'm going to use point-slope form. So that'll be the first one we do. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this into point-slope form. We're going to do y minus the y value of the point. Well, the y value of the point is -4, so we're going to write y plus 4. Equals slope 2 x minus the x value of the point, so we're going to do x plus 3. And that's it. And that's why this is my favorite, because it's the easiest. And we like the easiest way, don't we? All right, so that's number 1. The next one I would probably do would be to get this into slope-intercept form. Okay, and that just requires really hardly any thinking, just a little bit of algebra skills. We're going to distribute, and then we're going to subtract. Okay? All right, so we get y plus 4 equals 2x plus 6. And slope-intercept form is y equals all the stuff. So subtract 4 over to the other side, and you get y equals 2x plus 2. There we go. So these are exactly the same lines, just written in different forms. And then finally, our third form would be general or standard form, which I would subtract 2x over. And I'm okay with this answer. Sometimes the book doesn't like you to have a negative leading term, like they want you to make x positive. And if so, that's fine. You would write 2x minus y equals -2. Now, if there are fractions at this point, you would have to multiply everything through by the least common denominator and get rid of the fractions and stuff like that. This case had no fractions. All right, any questions on that one? Does that feel very familiar to you? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, you did this in Algebra 1, you did it in Algebra 2, you did it this year, and guess what? You'll do it in calculus too. We always start with this just to make sure you know how to do it. Okay, the other type of question, number 4, is one that is given, instead of a point and a slope, you're given 2 points. But it's just one extra step. So let's say that we want to find the equation, all 3 forms again, for the line that goes through the point -5, 1, and -3, 0. And 2 points determine a line, right? 1 point, you can have an infinite amount. Like I tried to hang up some hockey sticks on a wall at my house, and I put the Velcro stuff on the wall that stuck to the wall and stuck to the stick, and I stuck it up there, and the stick went like that. And so I ended up moving that down and putting another one, and then it ended up being a straight line, because I had 2 points. It's pretty cool. It's like, ooh, math in motion, math works. Okay, would you like to try this one? You want me to walk you through it? I'm up for whatevs. I'll walk you through it. Okay, great. So what's our first step? I told you there was one extra step. Yes?
We need to find the slope.
Perfect. Yes, let's find the slope. Okay, we're going to find the slope. So we're going to go 0 minus 1. And then -3 minus negative 5. So we get negative 1 over 2. So our slope is a fraction this time. That's okay. We like fractions. All right, so now we're going to put this into point slope form. And it really doesn't matter which point you use. There's 2 answers that are acceptable for this next step. So I'm just going to use, what would you rather use? You want to use the second one because it has 0 in it? Yeah. Let's go y minus 0, which is just y. You don't need to write y minus 0, equals negative 1/2 times x plus 3. Okay, and that would be point slope form. It looks a little different because the 0 of the y, but that's okay. All right, so that's our first form. Our second form would then be to distribute the negative 1/2. And you can leave it just like that. Okay, that would be slope-intercept form. And then finally, the third one would be general or standard form. So general standard form, remember x and y are on the same side, so let's do that first. I'm going to add 1/2 x over. 1/2 x plus y equals negative 3/2. And then I warned you what to do in that last problem. Remember? I said if you get a fraction, you're going to have to get rid of that fraction. So let's multiply everything by, shout it out, 2. Yes. We're going to multiply everything by 2. That goes here, here. Actually, you're really multiplying both sides of the equation, but I always write it like that. Okay, so 2 times 1/2 x is just x. 2 times y is 2y. And 2 times negative 3/2 is negative 3. Yay! Okay, the last part, part C, that we have today is we're going to graph these. So if you want graphing paper, like I said, you can go grab some on your way out or, whenever you want to when we're done. But we're going to graph these by hand. Okay, no calculators yet. We graph lines by hand because you should know how to graph a line by hand. They're going to be in different forms. Okay, so here we go. What number are we on? What number was that? Number 4? All right, number 5. So it just depends on what form it is and what way you're going to graph it. So if I give you y plus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. Okay, that's point slope form. If I want to graph that, I can do a couple of things. I can distribute and get this into mx plus b if I wanted to. But I could also just go ahead and plot my point and then count my slope from that point. So what is the point that we can see that's obvious to this line? Almost, yes, I heard it. Okay, be careful. It's always x first, right? So positive 1, negative 2. So positive 1, negative 2 is our point. I'm going to put a dot there. And then my slope is 3. So from that point that I just plot, I'm going to do rise over run is 3 over run. 3 over run, 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then over 1. And that's where graph paper works really well. See if I can actually connect the dots this time. There we go. 7 minutes. Okay. Number 6. Now I'm going to give you a different form to graph. And this one everyone kind of prefers, I think. I don't want to, say you prefer it, but most people prefer to graph when it's y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2 in slope-intercept form. So you go ahead and you graph the y-intercept first, and the y-intercept is negative 2, and the slope is negative 1/2. Okay. So go to negative 2 on the y-axis. On the y-axis, negative 2. And then we're going to count rise negative 1. So rising negative 1 is going down negative 1. And is 2 negative or positive here? It's positive. So I'm going to go down 1 and count over 2 positive. And if you look at it, check to see if your answer is right. Is your slope negative here? Yeah. If I was standing here on my skateboard, I don't have a skateboard. My kids do. I would be going downhill, which is a negative slope. I rode 10.13 miles on my bike yesterday. Really good, huh? Yeah, it was hard. Okay, number 7. I almost died. Not literally. Literally. Number 7. Do you know literally means figuratively and literally now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that weird? It's literally weird. I don't know. It is. It's so strange. Okay. 2x minus 3y equals 12. Erg. Where's like the back button? Oh, there it is. Yay, I found it. Okay. Now this is in standard/general form, and my favorite way to graph this is to find the intercepts. Do you remember the intercept method? Okay, let me remember you. Here's how you do it. If I want to find the x-intercept, all I have to do is take my finger and cover up the y, because y would be 0. Remember this? And you get 2x equals 12, so x would be 6. So I go over to where x is 6, and I plot a point there. And then I do the same thing. I cover up the x's, or the x with my finger, and I get negative 3y is 12, so y would be negative 4. And I have my 2 points, and I draw my nice straight line. I really missed that time. Undo. Look it's like it never happened. It's so good, except it's on video, and yeah. I might, okay. Oh my goodness, let's go this way. Oh, big dot theorem, done. Perfect. Nice. Okay, now, are you pretty good with graphing on your calculator? Like you could graph those. You've had a whole year of calculator stuff. I'm assuming that most of you can graph that on your calculator. If it is in this form and you had to graph it on your calculator, you need to solve for y, okay, because you're in function form with y equals. Also, if it says graph this on your calculator, make sure you sketch a graph on your homework paper to see that I know that that not just, oh, I did it on my calculator. Yeah, believe me. Okay, actually write it, draw it down. Okay. All right, that's it. Anything else? We're good? Okay, so we're on chapel +7 period day, and we get out at